Can I say our color palette right now is kind of anti-graphic designer? We're like bright
Oh,
colors
yeah.
that all work together very well.
Well, the sun is shining in Brooklyn, New York here today. And so colors are out.
I don't wear all black ever.
Is that a choice?
I mean, I just don't like it.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
prefer it.
Kevin is not
I like colors.
one of
Yeah.
those graphic designers that wears all black all the time.
Well, I'm not a graphic designer, so.
Oh, fuck.
I gave that shit up years ago. A fruitless pursuit. That's what I think.
I actually read something today that the World Economic Forum said that graphic design is one of the fastest declining jobs in America.
No way.
So good choice.
That's good for us.
Good for us.
Wait, I want to read that.
Declining
Yeah.
isn't like people are not becoming them, or declining like the jobs are declining.
Declining in that job where we may be, sort of
Oh.
full-time podcasting very soon. Sooner than we.
Chad, are we cooked?
3, 2, 1. Kevin.
What's up?
Cool shirt, man. Mr.
did
Magoo.
this. We already did this.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
The sun's shining. I'm on coffee number 2, and all is right on planet Earth. I feel great. We have a special guest in the house, and front and center is the podcast. Talia Cotton is a designer, coder, and educator who is recognized as a leading specialist at the intersection of design and technology. In 2023, she founded Cotton, a creative agency pursuing purposeful design with code. Talia also teaches and has been recognized by the One Club, TDC, Fast Company, and It's Nice That, and has inspired audiences around the world on the Cotton Global Worldwide Tour. She's taken a stop
Wow.
here in Greenpoint. Welcome to the show, Talia.
Thank you, Alex Center.
You got t-shirts?
Yeah, you need shirts.
I have hats, I have sweatshirts, and I have bags. And I was going to bring you guys hats in multiple colors, but I forgot it. And I
Oh, it's
realized
okay.
on my way here. But they are so cool. I was wearing a cotton hat in the West Village the other day. Some girl comes up to me and she goes, "Oh my God, I love their work." And I'm like, yeah, aren't they amazing? And it's like, it's such an honor because it's like, usually it's like, okay, Talia Cotton, but this time it was the company. It was that whole thing. And that's such an honor.
Very nice.
That fucking rules. And well deserved, but how exciting is that?
Very exciting.
Yeah. Cotton is your real last name.
Cotton is my real last name. Born with it.
Wow. Do people ask you that a lot?
They ask me why is it called Cotton, and then I
Okay.
say it's because it's my last name. But they don't ask me the origins of my last name.
People are shocked when I tell them my last name is Center. They are like, wait a minute, whoa, what? Center is both your last name and the name of the company that you founded? And then I say yes, and wow, it really, you see their heads just explode.
And then people try to like draw connections. They're like, oh, but like cotton, is it because like the fibers of cotton are like the fibers of technology, but also you're soft and approachable?
Yes.
I'm like, no,
It's not that at all.
Yeah, it's not that deep.
not that deep. It's just my last
It's
name,
just
guys.
my last name. Yeah, I've tried to over-intellectualize Center. You know, it makes a lot of sense, right? Your brand
Of course,
center, you know, you
There you
find
go.
your center. But I actually find myself weaning and swerving away from those things.
Very smart.
Except for front and center of this podcast that you're
There
on.
you go.
right
Well, it's a
now.
great name.
It's a dual meaning.
Yeah, it's a double meaning. It stands for the middle and Alex.
Weren't you saying that Kevin has to change his last name to Front?
Yeah, well, Kevin Front, and Alex Center.
If we raise enough money,
Kevin, what's your last name right now?
I want people to like me for my first name, not my last name.
There
I
it
don't know,
is.
Kevin and Center doesn't really have a ring to it. Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Front's not good.
No,
I don't like it.
You don't like Kevin Front?
No.
I'm kind of. It's growing on me.
I would do it for like a couple $100K.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll hit the streets.
That's the price.
Talia, where are you from? Can you disclose that information?
I'm from New York City.
Okay. So you and I met at a Collins event, and it was a very packed house. And the central concept of that event was designers having beers, having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part of that event was designers make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to share them. And I was unfamiliar with your work. And you went in front of the room with a very small projector and were like, I'm going to show you some fucking sick code. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And I was very impressed. And then we met and we hung out. And I have never seen anyone do design like you before.
Thank you very much.
When did you start doing this?
I started designing. I graduated from Parsons in 2019. And I was there for an abridged period. I know, like mathematical
Mathematics
equations
of
going on
age.
in the back.
Yeah.
I was there for about 2.5 years. I had transferred from another school where I wasn't studying design, and I discovered coding in my first semester at a design school. And back then, there wasn't really anything that anyone was doing to intersect design and coding and technology and blah, blah, blah. But what I was doing was I was obsessed with coding. I've always been sort of like combo left brain, right brain. And I was working on my design projects using code because I loved it. But my teachers were not coders, and they were critiquing me on the design on the same level as someone using Adobe Illustrator. So I have always known about those two as the same. And since then, my career has always just defined itself around that intersection as well. It's not one versus the other. They are one and the same.
How many of your projects are code-based at Cotton?
A large amount of them, but you wouldn't know that because we use coding as mostly a design tool for pretty much everything. For example, we did something where the deliverable was a static deliverable, but in order to make it, we needed some sort of like automated design thing. So we just built a custom automated tool in-house. And we just made these designs, and then we handed it off to the client.
Are the clients coming to you looking for code, or are they looking for design?
Half-half.
Half-half. Okay.
Yeah, it's how clients work. They all hear something about what you do. They're drawn to something, and then they come and they don't really know what to expect. And you have to explain what you do based on what you think will resonate with them best.
And are there clients that are like, don't do this. We don't care how it's done. Just give it to us and make it look good.
Well, the way I like to describe it is don't use the C word when you're talking about what you do. Don't use code because...
Don't worry.
Oh, that one?
Never. Yeah, we would never.
Because you're not like, when you're pitching for something, you're not saying, oh, and by the way, guys, we're going to be using Figma. It's so great. You're not going to do that. And so same way, they don't care how we make it. It's about its ideas. It's about how do we make sure that they can get a bigger audience, sell their product, etc.
What can code do that Figma or Adobe products can't do?
Do you want me to go into the spiel?
How long's the spiel?
How long is this spiel?
I can try to do it in 25 seconds.
All right. We'll
Yeah,
get the
that'd be
timer.
great.
Okay.
There
Put
are-
the timer on the clock.
There are I'm nervous now because you're counting. There are sort of 5 areas. Stop counting. There's sort of 5
Stop the count.
areas.
Okay, stop it. All right.
There's sort of 5 areas where coding can do something different. Well, actually, let me back up. When you think about Figma and all those digital softwares, behind the scenes, what you don't see is that those are all tools that were built by developers for designers. So there is code behind the scenes. It's just with an interface and certain limitations and certain things that are made a little bit easier. So think about it like we are just like the developers behind the scenes making the custom tools for whatever custom design project that we need. The outputs in form and in function can be anything that's generative, using random
Time's
values.
up. Just kidding.
I mean, I would love to be interrupted. I've gone into this spiel way too many times.
No, it's good. Keep going,
it's
keep
good.
going.
It's good.
Keep
We're
going.
loving it. We're loving it.
Okay.
We got it now.
So it can be generative using random values, obviously with care. It can be automated where you sort of say like do the same task over and over and over again, obviously with care and control. Interactive, adaptable, data-driven, stuff like that. But where this turned into something that we realized we could actually make money on is in a business is that it's not, clients don't care about, oh, this looks cool. Clients, again, care about how it communicates an idea to audiences. And when I realized that a lot of these new capabilities in form and in function have sort of like a deeper meaning, then it sort of started to solidify. For example, when you have generative design, where you basically say, okay, computer, run this function, and it gives you 1,000 different outputs, suddenly that's sort of like the most authentic representation of diversity, because it's not saying, oh, you're a circle, you're a rectangle, you're a hexagon, choose one, and everyone's different. It's saying, no, literally, like this is a unique iteration that speaks to you. And there's so many other things that those opportunities in form and in function can be for using code.
So how does a client go about using like a generative brand system?
It depends on the client. I think for your, what exactly do you mean by that question?
Dumb one is like if you got 1,000 logos getting popped out, like how do you choose?
If you go back to sort of like the history of generative this is going to get way nerdier than any Front and Center podcast at all. But
this is immediately going over our heads, but I love it. Let's keep going.
I will answer that though, and I
won't speak for Kevin. It's going over my head.
I will get nerdy because it is one half of my personality.
Well, that's why you're on.
Yeah.
If you go back to the history of generative branding specifically, I call it sort of like the first wave of generative branding. Think like the old MIT Media Lab logo. Generative brands were coming in. Everyone was like, oh my God, amazing. Like a logo can be infinite and it's incredible. So MIT Media Lab, designed by E. Brun King, was released, a million different logos. And then 2 years later, they came to Pentagram to change that because apparently they didn't know which logo was the logo.
Too many logos.
And too many logos, there isn't a single logo. And if you think about what a logo is, it has to be a single symbol. It has to be the Coca-Cola. It has to be the FedEx, right? It's like this thing that people have comfort in.
Do you know
seeing.
There's an arrow inside of that FedEx logo? Sorry.
Continue. I've used that example in design presentations to try to teach my clients to be more subtle.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so the answer is with a generative logo, you cannot possibly have a generative logo without also saying this is your logo. And you have the generative options within there. It's the only way to do it.
So your brand books are infinite.
Yeah.
They're infinity pages long.
Sometimes the brand book comes down to it's being replaced by a design tool, where instead of saying like, and this is where you're going to place the logo on this thing, it's here's a design tool where you only have the 4 options where you can place the logo, and you only have these colors. And if you choose one color and this color doesn't go with it, but it's also in the color palette, you literally can't choose that color. It's the future of design.
That's impressive. It sounds a little bit more complicated than PDFs and sort of putting them together with sort of a color page and a type page, which, to be honest, I think still the best way.
It's a good way to keep your clients, like on track, keep them in line.
Use these 3 colors.
Yeah.
And no other colors. You know that page in the guidelines where it has the big X's over? Yeah. How do you do that with generative? Are you saying they can't select it? That's the equivalent of it.
With brand guidelines, one of the biggest issues is that people just sort of like go to the content that they only want to see and they skim over the content. If you go
You're
to a
telling
page,
people are skimming our brand guidelines books?
If you go to a page and there's like 6 red X's on it, you're not going to want to look at that page. You're going to be like, oh, this doesn't apply to me.
That's the best page.
That's the best page.
It's like the psychology of brand books is like people really only want to see it for what they need.
But you know the one where they squish it? And then the one where they make it like all sorts of crazy colors and you're like, don't do that.
And sometimes they do it anyway.
Yeah, no, those are the bad clients. But like the good clients, they're like, oh yeah, I see the big red X over those things. Can't be me.
Do you think people still read?
No, God, no. I mean, I think
we should be making brand guidelines TikToks.
Yeah.
Short form brand guidelines. Each section is its own.
Welcome to the logo section.
It's its own 60-second video.
Not a bad idea.
Like a little quick dance.
Yeah.
And like Dochi pops out. I guess, again, like it sounds quite complicated if I'm being honest with you. Why make a practice that's so simple, so complicated?
I would argue that it's actually the opposite, because to use a brand guidelines document, it can get really complicated, especially now that you're getting brands that have way more colors than ever before, lots of different iterations for lots of different applications. And when you have a custom design tool, it's baked into it. To build it maybe might sound complicated for someone like yourself, Alexander.
No, I don't do anything around here.
Shots fired.
But it's actually really, really simple for us.
All the people here behind the wall, they're the ones that are actually doing it. I'm just the face of this operation.
That's great. That's great.
But I think what you can do with code, if I'm going to get real for a second,
go for it.
Is I think what it unlocks this kind of magical moment for me is that we're all sitting on screens, right? We're all watching and interacting with brands in places where we can be a part of it. And instead of just looking at it and saying, oh, that's a brand, there is a sort of, it can interact or it can sort of, we can impact and play a part. And I think people do desire that ability to not just look at something and move on from it, but sort of find a way to engage. And we're all trying to create brands that people want to engage with. And I think that's when code, in my opinion, is the most effective when I can sort of, as a user, not a brand designer working with sort of the brand identity, but as a person on your website or a person sort of seeing some of the articles or some of the things where I'm like, this is a way that I can play, or information can be presented to me in new and exciting ways.
Yeah.
Where it's not just I clicked play and it moved.
Yeah.
Or, it unlocks something that I think is really powerful and novel that actually makes me wonder why so much of what we see and interact with is so simple. Do you believe that, like, in the future, and obviously this is why your studio exists in many ways, it's like, do you see a world where brands are all interactive and code based in this way, or no?
Not really.
No.
But I do think that, like you say, the interactive aspect of code, that's one of the list of possibilities. The best part about it is that suddenly, for the first time, the viewers and the participants and the customers and the consumers are and can be a part of the brand, as opposed to before where they were just sort of like passive onlookers. And as a result, you get a lot more kind of like empathy in a way. The people feel like they are a part of it. They feel like they're heard. They feel like the brand responds to them a lot better. So there are all these benefits for brands to make it interactive. As in terms of whether everyone will start doing it, probably not. But in terms of whether that will go on an upward trajectory, probably yes.
So are you generally kind of like the only person doing this? Or is it like a widely used tool in the design community?
Interactivity?
Well, no, designing with code, sorry.
Code. It's a good question. There are a lot of creative coders now. They all, in my eyes, sort of stem a little bit more in the like art world than myself. I have a branding background. I've worked in agencies, and whenever anybody asks me, who sees me talk, they're like, where can I work and do what you're doing? I'm like, I really
only
just think
Cotton.
Only at Cotton. And it's true. We do consumer work. We do brand work. We do stuff that has an impact, that has a meaning, that works for brands. But no one really has the same control that we have when we're using the code as a design tool.
So in the way that you're using code, like you just mentioned, like interactivity to me is like some of the most exciting stuff. But there's many different ways in which you could use. How do you, when starting a project, how do you determine which pathway is the right way to go? Because going down those pathways, I imagine, takes a lot of time.
It's a good question. It's sort of backwards. You know how we are now thinking about it in terms of like, oh, well, code is generative and I could do many different random things, or code is interactive and I can make it interactive. For us, it's a little bit more about the traditional branding process. You ask them what their goals are. You ask them what they need to communicate. You ask them their deeper mission and values. And then we think of what is sort of like the way to communicate that using visual techniques, visual and motion techniques, and interactive techniques and generative techniques. And we have a pretty good sense, just from our experience, about which values sort of like match up with which coding principles. I could go deeper if you want.
Yeah, no. And so, but it's essentially sort of, these are the services that we offer in some ways that could help you reach your goals.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
And then I think from there, you work with the client. I mean, how many of your clients are versed in code and design, or if any?
Nobody is versed to our degree.
They're not making the code, but in terms of like ability to sort of understand it, I think, and really kind of take advantage of what you guys can do. I think there's, I just wonder how many clients are sort of thinking this way.
I don't think that many, but in a way they come to us to educate them on that. They come to us like, they say, we love what you do. It always resonates. I don't know how you're going to do it for us, but I know you will. And then figure it out. And that's what happens.
Sweet.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so you were, like you mentioned, working at studios. Did you start your career sort of have you always been designing with code, or was there sort of moments where you were sort of working in agencies and working sort of regular design style?
There isn't a single studio before Cotton that was allowing me to use code on everything. So I was doing traditional branding a lot of the time, some editorial projects, some marketing, some packaging, some interactive, or some like product design. So I do have that experience, but oftentimes they would hire me because they would see me as like, oh, she can like help our company become more like digitally friendly. And then what ended up happening was there was still some resistance by the leadership wherever I went, because they didn't see the same potentials that I did, and then Cotton was born.
Fair enough.
Fair. Yeah, no. And I guess when I, Cotton turned 2 years old the other day. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for coming to the party.
Yeah, no. And it was fun. And it was good to meet some of the Cotton crew. When I was talking to you there, I said, if I can give you one piece of advice, I was like, hey, Talia, I've been around, I have a studio too. And, in a real dickhead type way, I was like, don't grow too fast. And you looked me straight in the eye and you said, I want to be 110 people. Is that still the goal? This is a week later. So where are we standing on this?
Well, between last time that I spoke to you, and the short answer is yes, but it has evolved, and I'm constantly thinking. I think at 2 years old, everything changes at rapid pace. Between last,
you start teething and
exactly
talk words.
Pretty soon I'll be having my teenage tantrum all the time.
That's where I'm at.
So I saw Stefan Sagmeister at the Paradiso Festival last week.
Yes.
And he asked me a similar thing. Do you want to grow? Blah, blah, blah. Stefan's theory is that definitely stay small, try to resist the urge to grow. For a variety of reasons, some of them being, as you can probably relate to, the best work comes out of a studio that's small. I think one of the points that he makes is that designers love being hands-on. They love feeling that they are the ones who is making the work that is going out and being on that bus stop, right? And as soon as you grow, designers have less and less responsibility, and the work gets not as good, and you start to have a little bit less control as the major designer. You're a little bit less hands-on. You're a little bit more of like the CEO type. So all these like warnings from everyone. And despite that, I know that personally, I like big companies. I came from Pentagram before Cotton, and I didn't want to leave Pentagram because it was it is one of the few design agencies that can be that big and still very successful because of its structure.
But there's small teams though inside of Pentagram. And
exactly.
That's one of the things that I think is interesting for the small team argument.
That's right.
It's like Pentagram is big, but they're actually 15 or whatever, 10 people or 15 people teams.
That's right.
So they're not actually a massive company. They're just a bunch of small studios that have banded together.
But as a company, they're still very large.
That's fair.
So, and when it comes down to it, my employees are extremely happy doing what they're doing. They're working on a day-to-day basis with that intersection of design and code. Yeah. And now you have hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of students graduating every year who are like, I found my thing. It's design and code.
And I can only
now
work
where do I go? And I can only work at Cotton.
So you better build this place fast.
My dream is to give them a home, give them the ability to do what I always wanted to do, what my employees are super happy doing. And I can only do that by strategically figuring out how to grow. And if it means following the Pentagram model, like build many little smaller teams, then that's great. If I did do the Pentagram model, I would also want to consider a world where people feel like they have a little bit more equity or ability to sort of like move up. So there's a little bit more hierarchy, but then you have the flip side where then you get people who aren't necessarily as hands-on. So these are things that I am thinking about every single day. And luckily, since essentially the dawn of my career, I've been really fortunate I've been getting a lot of recognition, and I've been surrounding myself with big name designers. So I'm able to sort of like see the future and see like many different ways that a studio of 10 years old and 20 years old can be. So I can sort of like take those learnings and kind of like apply them to my my studio.
Also, you can figure it out on the way. Like I do think you don't have to have the perfect plan. You can find what's right for you. And I think that's ultimately, after I sort of tried to give you advice, and I was like, wait a minute, why the fuck am I giving her advice? Who cares? Like, why? Because it's like people just, there is that sort of thing where they're like, how big is your studio? How and they're like trying to size other studios up. And it's like, yeah, be whatever size studio you want to be. And if, and I think for the right reasons, of course, right? Like having tons of designers out there with no home, just on the streets wanting to design with code and they have no place.
Just coming up to your window in the rain, looking all sad.
Yeah. Just like, typing out love letters in code and protecting them on the walls.
With their
Literally
wet
happened.
laptops.
Yeah. No, and I think that's really beautiful. And I think there is something about being a founder that is about giving people the gift of having a career. And I think I certainly respect and appreciate that. Maybe, in a dark bar on, sort of a Thursday night, there wasn't enough time to talk about this or nuance there. But it's like, I do appreciate that aspect. And I often think, I wish I could hire everybody that I meet. And I'm like, man, because
crazy.
Because I want to give them that gift. It's not of working for me, but it's of having a career in this industry that I've had now for 20 years.
Exactly.
I'm very thankful for. And unfortunately, that would mean that my business would have to change dramatically and be a different type of business that maybe I don't want to run. And that's just that journey is for everybody to find on their own way.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Right. But I like that Stefan Sackmeister. I mean, I think there are a lot of people that like as you get older, like you do find that and you're like, you want to like help people that are sort of at the beginning of their journey by sort of giving them sort of that knowledge. Because I do think it's one of those things that you do find on your path. And so I'm sorry for trying to teach you.
Nobody said that it was bad. I appreciate the
I
advice,
felt
but here you are
shame. I felt
apologizing. You're
shame.
like,
I
I'm
was like-
so sorry. I told you what I think.
I told him how bad it was.
I was like, man, just like, why do you need to try to do that thing where you're like, can I give you a piece of advice? Because like when people do that to me, I'm like, I didn't ask for your fucking advice.
Everyone gives me advice, and I'm
I
trained to let it go in one ear and out
But-
the other. So.
Exactly. But Talia, you're very smart. You don't need other people's advice.
I know.
You think you're exactly, and you know that. So I think it's really wonderful. But
Yeah, we don't even know how to code. We don't know anything about code.
We know nothing about code. Everything you said before, right over my head, like I said. But it sounds really impressive. But I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to be honest with you, which is great for your business.
More for
Maybe
you.
I'm faking
More
it.
for you.
Maybe it's all bullshit, and
Probably
you will
not.
never know. But it just impresses people.
To be honest,
That's not exactly what it is.
It'd probably be even more impressive if you were faking.
listen, that would be super impressive. You were like, what was her name? Theranos. What was the lady with the fake company?
I don't know.
Elizabeth Holmes, just fake it, just keep talking about code, and just no one's going to look at,
No one's gonna know.
no one's going to know.
Yeah, and if they saw the code,
no one's going to figure this out.
even if they saw the code, they wouldn't know what the hell was going on. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you'd be like, oh, sweet.
Code. What the hell is this? And it's just like a bunch of numbers and, letters. But no, honestly, it is, jokes aside, it's exciting. And I think it does make me wish there was more sort of places in which I was actually talking about this with a designer that we brought in to work on a motion project that was using code for our motion work.
I heard you hate motion designers.
And I was like, you're out of here. No, I'm kidding. No motion designers. Nothing moves around here.
Yeah.
Center, we keep it static.
The only thing worse than a motion designer is a motion designer who uses code.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly.
Just kidding.
We're
They're great.
into things that stay still and people like them. And then people can touch them and then they can do the motion is by carrying it with them on their path in life. But no, I think it was interesting because it was a very different type of way of working. And it was I learned a bunch through that process. And, and he was showing me some websites that were sort of built with code. And I was like, man.
Oh, the websites were built with code?
No. Talia. I mean, they were using code in interesting ways to tell stories.
That was a good one.
That's good.
Wow. Off the top rope.
Yeah, New York Times pieces where they were using code to help tell stories about buildings and things that I was like really blown away by it. And I immediately was like, why are all these other websites just long ass scrolls with no interactivity and nothing engaging? Why do you think that is? Why do you think so like things are sort of websites were designed and then there was like this new version of what a website looks like and then it's kind of just stayed mostly the same?
People have a lot of resistance because they are used to things a certain way. They're used to the familiarity of a nav in the top right corner with drop downs if they need something. There's also a whole world of people who are advocates for the absolute best UI UX, and anything that stretches away from that is bad design in their eyes. Yeah, that's why I think that is.
Yeah, but don't you think they're like some of those New York Times pieces showcase the ability to storytell in a much more engaging way? And I feel like I started seeing some of those pieces 10 years ago. And it just feels like people are, I assume it's time and money as well. Like it just takes a little bit more effort to sort of make some of those pieces of web content that are not just words.
It might be that, but it also might be, it might still be that resistance. If you are a design director, a lot of design directors live in fear of what the client will say.
Not us, not me,
not center
here.
Design.
Clients are always right, though. That's a fact. We all know this, right?
Clients? Are you telling me, or are you telling the podcast?
No, that's
listeners, all of your clients who are listening right now.
That's all right. That's for the clients and listeners that are clients. They're always right. They've never been wrong, and I'm scared of them, terrified.
Well, but I do think that that's why, even though there is proof that something like the New York Times can be very successful, very accessible, and very creative, I still think that once someone does something, and we see this in our end as well, once we do something that's very, very creative, there's immediate resistance because it is just different. Mm-hmm. Even if we can point to New York Times and say they did this exact same thing and it's super successful, it still takes a lot of convincing.
Is there a lot of case studying that you find helpful for clients when you're like, look at this and sort of use these other examples, whether it's your own or sort of other brands out there that sort of have had success?
Believe it or not, we don't do that. We do very little looking at other brands and references. The only thing that we do is we always do a landscape analysis, and we do a landscape analysis, and we also do what we call like aspirational brands and websites or brands and whatever applications. And we say, this is where you are right now, and this is what you want to look like. And we pinpoint sort of like what the aspirational brands don't have to be in the same industry. They could be like, if you're in a tech company and you're pointing to like a fashion brand, but you sort of want to be like that fashion brand of tech companies, that's what we do. But it's a little bit less like, look at this creative thing that like the New York Times did. Like we can do that too. It's more just like, this is how we're going to persuade you because it's all strategic.
One of my favorite projects we did was Madeline's. We're in Greenpoint, Brooklyn here. It's a very...
oh, you did that?
Yeah, it's a very special place. Yes. And
no way.
Talia Cotton did the branding. Shows how much Kevin research really is. It's on her website, Kevin, right here.
Whoops.
Madeline's in
Greenpoint,
Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Yeah, that is awkward.
And that's where that's where your second birthday party was. A great place. And in our conversation... which I got a lot of insights into. You said, I don't come to Brooklyn because I'm from Manhattan. What's your beef with Brooklyn, Talia? Why do you not come to the best borough?
If you ask anybody who's born in Manhattan, they are born with sort of like a bias against Brooklyn. And I really do mean bias. There is no truth to it. Brooklyn is a great place. I can say that objectively, but I am from Manhattan. And as a Manhattanite, you just are. It's like the East Coast West Coast rivalry in the '90s. It's like
I don't think this rivalry exists. I think you've created this.
Well,
rivalry,
you're not from Manhattan. I will tell you how many
Island,
how many like Uber share rides I've been in where like we start talking and it turns out they're from Manhattan too, and then the conversation very quickly goes to shitting on Brooklyn.
Oh wow!
You won't know because you're not a Manhattanite.
That's not nice.
Wow. And likewise, shitting on Manhattaners. Like what is even there still? Like, is there anything worth going to? Everything that is remotely good is here in Brooklyn.
Cotton Design.
I don't go to
Can't
Manhattan.
even see the sun there.
Also, the best view, as you mentioned, coming here for the first time in Greenpoint since the sort of the one time you went to Madeline's was sort of the view of Manhattan, the city, the skyscrapers. Beautiful view. You can't see that when you're in it. You have to see it from across the water.
But you're in it. That's even better.
You can't see it when you're in it.
Yeah, but then you're like
looking at it.
It's like saying like looking at pictures of like a Costa Rican getaway is better than being at a Costa Rican getaway.
I love looking at pictures of Costa Rica. Have I been to Costa Rica? No, but I've looked at many pictures of Costa Rica. I'm not interested in going, but
yeah, I wouldn't want to go. I would want to look at
it. Pictures specifically. You really think that Manhattan is a better place than Brooklyn? Really?
I do.
Wow.
Well. No, I didn't say. I don't. No. You're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say Manhattan is better. I said that I have an innate bias for Manhattan because I'm from there.
But the bias is that you enjoy it more, or you think it's better.
I enjoy Manhattan more. Yes.
What do you like about it? No, I'm kidding.
Well,
how about this? What do you like to do for fun? Talia Cotton, coder, designer extraordinaire, traveling around the world. Teacher. We forgot about that. Kids, teach them. What do you like? What are Talia Cotton's guilty pleasures?
well, before Cotton, I was salsa dancing 4 times a week. I was
4 times a week.
Swing dancing. I was a competitive salsa dancer for a minute. I would hike every other weekend.
Wait, let's hold up real quick. A competitive salsa dancer?
It was amateur, but I was still in competitions.
It's pretty sweet.
Pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah, the costumes were so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get into salsa dancing?
When I was very young, I was working at an Italian restaurant in Soho, in Nolita, and the kitchen people were all Hispanic, and I dated one of them. He was from El Salvador, and we would all just sort of like hang out the front of house, the back of house, and half the time it would result in us sort of like hanging out at like impromptu like salsa dancing like things. And I was like, I love this. This is amazing. Let me take a class. And I just sort of stuck with it.
And you're like, I'm going pro.
Sweet.
So what kind of salsa competitions? Is this sort of how does one sort of engage?
They're like there's these like salsa conferences that happen a couple times a year.
Those sound like pretty good parties.
It really, you have no idea. It's like,
you think a design conference has fun.
Oh, you have no idea. It's so fun. But like when I was doing these things, I was also working at Pentagram. So what I would be doing is like salsa dancing, competing, blah, blah, blah. And then like going to my computer and like responding on Slack to like send a client like a campaign thing that had to be sent at midnight. And it was just like, yeah, you don't see that too often.
No, not a lot of salsa dancers at Pentagram, I would imagine. I don't know. I've never worked there, but
you're the first salsa dancer I've met that also designs.
Yeah, with code and teaches. So how much salsa dancing are we doing now these days?
Zero.
Oh,
Zero.
Come on.
What happened?
So almost all my hobbies from before starting Cotton have been put on a temporary hold.
What are the other hobbies?
Anything physical, working out, yoga, hiking.
Running?
I can't run. Fun fact.
Get those back in the mix.
Yeah. If I can give you some advice.
Wait, but so most of them I said, but
Yeah.
I'm finally back in we just celebrated our second birthday and I'm finally back on my workout routine. I'm doing my stuff. So things are good. Things are great.
Good.
Yeah, no, working is, especially when you work for yourself, the truth is, and only speaking from my own personal experience, you can do it every day, all the time. And there's the to-do list never ends. It's just kind of like, how much can you chop off in any given day? So you have, like, I had to really find, it took me a long time to actually get here. It took me almost 6 years to be like, whoa, I have to carve out time for myself. Otherwise, it's not going to go that well. Didn't go that well for me in terms of my personal, moving and finding that time because work just was all encompassing. So it's awesome to hear that.
Good for you.
Yeah, good for you that it didn't take you 6 years.
Do you like that Drake song, Working on the Weekend like usual?
I don't know that song.
Do you like music? What kind of outside of salsa music, are you a music enjoyer?
I grew up listening to classical and jazz music.
Wow. It's probably good to code too.
Do you like WBGO?
WBGO, yeah. When I was growing up in the city, there was a station called CD 101.9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
After this, I will send you or take a look at the ad for CD 101.9. It was this like tacky, like this animation of these cats, and they're like singing, like snapping their fingers and whistling. And you have like Al Jarreau in the background, like boop bop boop boop bop, and then you have like Miles Davis like smoking and being like CD 101.9, like. Be
awesome.
Cool.
Oh, very
like,
nice.
He said, be cool like me.
Wow.
Legendary stuff.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah, no, they don't. There's not enough just cool guys that just smoke and do nothing else other than that. That's the real dream.
Smoke and play weird, wacky jazz.
That's right. Exactly. Just vibes. As far as like
only code now.
What do you do to decompress though? Because like what you just said to do is more moving, more like doing stuff. Do you like do you chill. I'm a big fan of doing nothing and just watching documentaries and just scrolling through my phone, just
we all scroll through our
you
phone.
like reels?
Just reels.
God, does anyone actually like reels?
I fucking love reels.
What do you mean? We love reels.
I would die for my reels.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Actually?
Yeah. How much? What kind of screen time do you?
3 hours.
What? 3 hours?
It's pretty good.
Some is that
We need to get that up.
Rookie numbers.
Some rookie numbers. Jesus Christ.
That sounds like a semi-healthy amount of.
Yeah. Why so healthy?
I see that every week, and I'm like, oh my God, 3 hours of my week are just
per
every
week?
day are just
30
gone.
hours of your week. We're talking about per day.
No,
Kevin
per
and
day.
I-
3 hours
my
of my
God.
day.
Oh my God.
Do I
Talia.
chill? Of course I chill. I like movies. I like movies. I don't watch them that often, but I do. And
Sounds like someone that doesn't chill.
I like I'm a New Yorker.
I'm a New Yorker.
I'm a New Yorker.
I'm walking here.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
what I've heard.
I'm
yeah,
chilling
yeah.
here. We don't say that. We
No,
say,
you're
I'm
right.
walking
They're
here.
walking here. They're not doing a lot of
Yeah.
chilling. All right. Okay.
Forget about it.
Exactly.
There you go. Forget about it.
That's the Brooklyn slogan. When
Yeah,
when you're leaving Brooklyn, it says, "You're leaving Brooklyn. Forget about it."
Yeah. She's never seen it because she doesn't come to Brooklyn.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do I chill? What were we talking about? Oh, I like
Talia Cotton, I just saw her eyes. She was like, "What am I doing?
What did I sign up for?
What did I sign up for? I could be coding right now."
I like going out. I like
Nice.
dinners. I like friends. I
Okay.
like drinks. I like staying up way too late. I guess even though my workout routine got all out of whack after starting Cotton, and I don't salsa dance anymore, I still would finish work at like 7, 8, 9, and then be like, all right, like let's get started. Like let's even things out by going out and having a good time and hanging out with friends.
Sick.
Wow.
Very nice.
This still
Thanks.
seems like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of activity.
She's busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. No.
Some of us are still young.
Shit. All right, Kevin. This has been a really fun episode of Friends Under. No, you gotta have some vices. We gotta have some guilty pleasures. You ever watch Real Housewives?
No. I don't watch TV, but I love Sex in the City.
Okay,
That's the only thing I watch.
That's not a vice. That's a prestige television.
I've watched. I'm on my third time watching Sex in the City. I don't watch any other TV. I
You just
only
Sex
watch Sex in the City
over and over and over.
And the funny thing is, I always get to that very last episode of the last season, and I've never seen the last episode of the last season. I always stop right before, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this to be over, and then I just start it all over again.
That's so strange. Wait,
Is that my vice? Does that check the box?
Okay, that seems like a vice. Yeah.
that is strange. Are you
Cannot finish Sex in the City.
Yeah, are you more a Carrie or a Samantha, Talia? Yeah.
I used to be a Samantha, and now I think I've merged into a Carrie.
Wow.
And when I realized that, when I was talking to Zapong, and Zapong is like, I'm a Samantha, and I'm like, oh my God, you literally are a Samantha. And I can't say that I'm Samantha next to Zapong because he is so much more Samantha than I am.
Yeah, I'm a Charlotte.
I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Wait, so you don't?
That's so sweet.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I just resonate with her character. Yeah.
Wait, which one are you?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mr. Big. You haven't seen the last episode? Wait.
No.
You just how many times have you seen the season without seeing the last episode?
I'm in the middle of the third time watching it.
Wow. And so maybe this time, or do you go into each episode every season
don't think
thinking
so.
maybe I could watch them again?
I don't think I will get to it this time. I'm almost done with season 6.
Is it like
and
on your screen and you're like shaking with the remote in your hand? Like,
No, I can't do it. Yeah. I think you should watch it.
Eventually I will.
I don't know how it ends, so I can't spoil it for you. But I'm.
do you want to unpack this?
Yeah.
Unpack why I haven't watched the end of season.
Why you're scared of the last episode?
You know what it might be?
Mm-hmm.
It might be that when women watch Sex in the City, they see themselves in any of the characters, not necessarily just one of them, but any of them. But it's such a definitive period in a woman's life is that kind of age. And it's just once it's over, it's like you go like I'm looking up to these women. I'm like, okay, there's still hope. I can still be a successful, sexy woman in New York City. And then I don't want it to end. And then maybe when I turn 45, or when I turn older than the oldest person in the series, I guess when I turn older than Samantha, maybe I will then watch
That's
the last
interesting.
episode because it'll be like
I got some news for
it.
you. They're still making this show. They
a different
picked
show.
back up. And,
It's a different show.
but they're older now.
I know.
One of them even has a podcast. That's what I've heard.
Oh,
Yeah, that's part of the new, relevant Sex and the City modern day. Carrie has a podcast. She used to be a writer, right? So it's a natural progression.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't do it without Mr. Big.
Yeah.
He's so
Did he
like.
die
He
on the
died on
Peloton?
I know. I saw
Wow.
the first episode on a plane.
Yeah, he died on a Peloton. And Peloton was like, what the fuck? Tough look for Peloton. And that was actually like the second time. Didn't he another character, another show
There was
fall off
there was a
Peloton
couple
and die?
couple Peloton instances in that time period.
Shout out to the writers who were like, it'd be really funny if it was a branded death moment and someone, and Peloton had to.
I think we can all agree that we need more brand deaths.
Yeah,
100%.
man. No, 1000%.
Which brands should have a brand death?
Oof.
Yeah,
Wow, putting me on the spot.
yeah. Good question. Yeah,
But like a comical one.
a comical death of a brand.
Yeah.
No, like
Glossier.
we're talking like death by brand.
Death
You
by
know,
is that?
yeah,
by
death by brand.
like
Oh,
death by
Peloton.
poppy, where you drink too much poppy and you have like dysentery.
Oh, you mean like a character?
Yeah.
in the
That would be a
show.
fun
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, death
That's a
by-
good one. Death
by
poppy.
Too much.
Yeah. Dysentery,
prebiotic sodas. Yeah, no, I actually like the idea. This was actually something that back in the day, Vitamin Water, we pitched, or there was some idea that was like, instead of doing more flavors, what if every year we killed off a flavor, and then like fans would have to vote.
It's a pretty good idea.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like which ones they would want to save, as instead of just kind of like
Genius.
adding, and is just like death flavor eliminator.
Genius.
I believe,
And
his
then
name
you
was
just
the
bring it
idea.
back. You bring it back in 3 months.
Wait, whose idea was that?
God, probably no clue. Yeah, good idea,
That's
right?
hot.
Yeah, no, it's hot. It was like a.
I agree.
It was like a microsite idea, back in the day. It was like, what if it was a Facebook tab, and it's an interactive digital experience where you could vote on your. We did actually some kind of interesting things. Nobody cares about this. That's why. But yeah, no,
You're two in your head, Alex.
Yeah. I'm dedicated to finding vices here. Talia
Go
is,
for it.
junk food.
You'd be
No.
very upset to.
Damn it.
What are your top restaurants
I
in
like
New York right now?
chocolate.
Chocolate.
Like sometimes if I'm having a bad day or like I need an extra boost in the afternoon, on my way here I had some chocolate covered almonds.
Okay.
Very nice. What are your
Wow,
what, are
what
your
advice.
what are your top restaurants in New York right now?
Wow.
Where are you
My
at?
you
fa-
going? Yeah,
shout out. So I go to Pastis a lot because the bartender there is the king of New York. He's just amazing. And
Shout him out. What's
we
his
should-
name?
Eric Adams. Just kidding.
I will.
He is
All right,
not. He's-
insert name here. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the
No.
one. That's
Oh.
the ones. That's the one. That's the number one restaurant.
Are you a
Pastis.
regular there?
There are a lot of regulars there because he just draws a lot of audience. But I do like going
Wow,
there.
good for him.
I think the restaurants that I go to are less because it's like the food is amazing and like it's the top restaurant in New York right now, and it's more like I've been here so many times. They know me. They can treat me well. I'm friends like BFFs with the bartender. It's like it's the way to do it.
It's a very
Wow.
New York answer.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, Keith McNally restaurants where I know the bartenders,
and yet
like,
not putting us on.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not going to tell you about my other 3 favorite restaurants. I'm just kidding. I'll tell you about one that everyone knows. But
I like Minetta Tavern.
yeah, great burger.
It's pretty good.
Great
Yeah,
burger.
Yeah.
Good scene.
Good scene.
Good scene.
Yeah.
Took my dad there once.
Yeah. Thick burger, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good burger.
Chunky. What are you saying on smash burgers, Talia Cotton?
I don't think I've had a smash burger.
Wow.
Well, that's a
Breaking news.
that's another vice.
Wow, you never you like a thicker patty on your burger. This is the type of stuff we're trying to get into on this program. Talia Cotton doesn't like smash burgers.
It's not that I don't like them. I've never had
That's
one.
gonna be.
you've never-
This
fair.
is a controversial thing though.
Oh yeah. Hit us with your takes.
Yeah.
This is sorry, we should have told you about the show. At the
This
beginning.
is going to make everyone quit your podcast. I hope.
Great.
Wow, you're
I'm,
perfect.
as you know by now, I'm
We're
from
so tired. Yeah.
I'm from Manhattan. I don't like pizza.
Oh wow,
Fuck yeah, we got there, Kevin.
that's a
What
pretty.
the fuck, Talia Cotton? You don't.
I don't love pizza. I will have pizza with friends if everyone's getting it. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll have a
Peer
slice.
pressure.
Peer pressure. Like convenience, more like.
So Talia Cotton from New York City does
Wow.
not like pizza.
That is pretty controversial.
That is a fucking take, and I respect it.
Thanks.
What about it? Is pizza overrated?
No, because that implies that it's an objective thing. Am I responding like a nerd?
The nerdiest, most like
Perhaps a little bit.
perhaps like most on brand sort of answer. Wait, what?
I don't like it because I think it's too cheesy. I don't like cooked cheese.
Okay, you're just not a fan of cheese.
Just not a fan of cooked cheese.
Where do you stand on French onion soup?
Too
much cheese.
Worst. No.
Ooh,
what?
No, I can't.
Yeah, no.
I really can't.
Yeah, no,
I really can't.
You seem scared.
I like the idea of French onion soup, but every time I try, so many times I've been to like an Irish bar and I'm like, today's the day I'm going to have French onion soup. And then I get it. I'm like, what the why did I order that?
Melty cheese.
Yeah, she doesn't like cheese. I mean, I guess under that sort of guise here, you know.
You got any other
pizza? Yeah.
You got any other controversial takes you want to unload?
Where do you stand on mac and cheese?
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't like the good kind of mac and cheese where it's like actually like prepared like, you know, by chefs and shit.
Yeah.
Too
cheesy.
If it's like, you know, if I'm working super late and I haven't had dinner yet, I will get the like instant mac and cheese things that like you put
that's not
in
really
water.
cheese. That's just like
It's
fake
just like
cheese.
powder.
It's just orange powder.
Mac and powder.
Mac.
It's real to me, damn it.
Mm-hmm. Do you like pasta?
Yes.
Okay, but not cheesy pasta.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't
Red
do the
sauce.
parm.
Red.
Never
Red,
parm.
we love-
Never parm.
Never
No,
parm.
never
Parm.
Wow.
Everyone knows this about me.
Everyone knows this.
No,
now
everyone really does.
Now they do. Yeah, and now that we've gotten here and you know, sort of the hour mark, we finally cracked.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Talia Cotton doesn't like pizza. I guess if you don't like cheese, then you know that makes stuff. But what
Checks
about
out.
like you know, sort of a grandma or some other sort of a cheeseless pizza? You know, tomato pie. Ever had that?
I mean, why would you have pizza at that point?
The bread and the sauce.
So then have bread with sauce. I don't know. Or just have pasta.
Fair. I mean, again, same general concept.
If
but
you're
just
still listening to this
carbs.
podcast, God bless.
Should we rein it back in a little bit? Maybe.
No, I like where this is going. Talia, so I guess last, you know, before we get you out of here, traveling around the world, doing talks. When did you start speaking, and what are you teaching these people out on these stages around the world?
Can you teach us something?
Yeah, can you teach us something?
I could try.
Yeah.
I
Not could. We
definitely
don't
try. I
we
could
don't
try.
care.
I gave my first talk before I graduated. And I've sort of been doing it more and more since then. This is the first year where I've started turning down talks because it's just too much. Last year I did 17 talks.
Oh my God.
Which is a lot when you're less than 2 years old trying to build a business and pay your employee salaries. It's a lot. It's exhausting. It's rewarding, but only so much of the time. So that's that. Can I teach you something? I don't know. What do you want to learn?
I don't want to learn.
I want to learn to
anything.
code.
No, I'm good. Kevin wants to learn how to code, but I think
I'm
that's
just
going to have to be.
I think I'm
You
I
have
think
to
I'm too
take
old for
Talia
that.
Cotton's class. Where is it? Parsons.
Parsons.
SVA?
Yeah.
Parsons for now.
This is a genuine question.
Mm-hmm.
I am.
As opposed to everything up until now.
No, those are all fake. That was just warm up. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Now that
the
we've broken
show,
you down,
Yeah, we've broken you down.
we're gonna do another hour.
Yeah. This is where it really settles in.
Clear your schedule.
You ever do Temazcal? It's a thing in Mexico where they put you in a sort of just like a hut, and they just put fire and coal inside, and you just have to like wait it out and last.
You're asking that so casually, like, hey, have you ever done this? Like,
Yeah. What kind of question is
very
that?
specific thing.
That's what this podcast is. It's you know, sort of now that the fires are starting to the ember and you've gotten comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Now we start over.
Great.
Yeah. What was I fucking talking about? Shit. Oh, genuine question. Alex Center is going to start teaching for the first time.
Oh, congrats. Where are you going?
Thank you very much. SVA.
Oh, great.
Master's in Branding program.
Oh, nice.
I've been a mentor for 9 years.
Great.
Helping the kids. But I have always thought maybe one day I can teach and I might like it. But I'm dipping my toe into the waters.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice?
So you're asking me for advice now.
I'm asking. This is a genuine question. Asking for advice.
How the turns table.
Your first semester is going to be as many things are. The most like, I have no idea what I'm doing, or you're going to be working the hardest in your first semester because you're going to be preparing for classes.
Shit, Kevin, this is bad.
No, it's really not.
Working the hardest
in relative to all the following semesters.
All right, I'm gonna have to reach out to Debbie and back out of this.
No, it's great. I as many things as I'm doing all the time, I still would never stop teaching because I don't know. I can't articulate it. It keeps
because it fills you up and you feel like you're helping the next generation. Talia's incredible facial expression.
Are you trying?
We did have this on YouTube, so could we Kevin, when that moment happened, can you just zoom in really close? To
nice digital zoom.
Yeah.
Maybe in the trailer.
Yeah, definitely. See, we were talking about the trailer moments. You just had one. There it is.
That's, I was thinking about that coming. I was like, how many faces could I make in a second?
That's good.
That's good. Yeah, yeah. Did you do the code in your head? You were really trying to figure out how many different expressions?
We
got her, Kevin. We got her right where we got her.
You're going to like it a lot.
I got some advice for you, Alex. Just be yourself.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Kevin. That's it. That's
are you nervous? Actually,
yeah,
terrified. Really.
Yeah,
You're terrified. Not just nervous, terrified.
Clients,
people scare you. Oh, you're gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
You're gonna adore them. The same reason that you love Liliana, you're gonna love these kids. You will have some shitty kids. Like there will be people. There will be a lot. Shout out to Liliana. There will be some shitty kids who don't want to work or who are just but it's fun.
What do you do with them? Kill them?
No, it's just like a really bad. I don't know if everyone's like this, but I feel like that wasn't a real question.
No, it was an absolute genuine question. I'm teaching for the first time. You've been a teacher, and actually,
do you take pleasure in handling the difficult clients?
Absolutely not.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait, what?
No, meaning like if a client is being difficult and you still manage to find a way to have your way, are you like,
no,
I am God?
No. I just give in and I'm like, whatever they wanted.
No, really?
Yeah, they got it. They got it. They're the ones in charge here. They're the ones paying for all this. They're the ones. They know best.
That's
I told you this before.
And I couldn't tell if you're being facetious. Wow.
Yeah, I was actually on a panel once at a conference, Design Thinker, shout him out. And there was like, what do you do when clients, sort of are wrong and you really want to push back on them and you really want to and one by one, everyone was like, okay, this is what I do. I, sort of feed them chocolate or da-da-da-da-da. And then someone's like, you got to be really firm and you got to sort of just tell them that, this, if they want to be great. And I was just like, never happened to me. Clients are always right. never, just let them have it.
Can I give you an alternate way to think about it?
Well, I was once a client. Here's the thing.
Okay.
You have to remember this.
Okay.
I was once a client. That was always right. So now I'm on the other side.
Okay.
And I'm servicing those clients.
Here's my unsolicited advice. Think about it less in terms of right and wrong, which as human beings, we all often simplify things to being black and white. So it's easy to think about it in terms of I'm right, you're wrong, or they're right, I'm wrong.
Ones and zeros.
Right.
That's how I think about it.
And instead,
it's a code joke.
It's
I got it. Let her finish. Oh my God.
The funny thing is, we don't code in ones and zeros. I hope you know that.
I knew that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we totally
we
knew that.
Definitely knew
that. So instead of it being right and wrong, it's just it's a gray area. It's that they have an opinion and I have an opinion, and there's a way to sort of make both of those true. They're both right in a way, or they're both valid, and just working on merging them so we both still have our way.
Compromise.
Whoa.
Wow.
Sure.
But what if they're wrong?
Okay. So again, it's less about
how did we get here? We're talking about students.
Like you're trying to teach. You're steering the ship, dude.
Okay.
Well,
who's hosting the show?
It's less about them being wrong because clients aren't wrong. Clients know the brand better than you ever will. Clients know the ins and outs. They have a different perspective into the brand than you do.
Correct.
And you have a different perspective into the brand than they do. So you can teach them about what the best way to communicate their ideas is, and they can educate you about what their ideas need to communicate. And it's about it's a very good exercise in understanding opposite opinions on a daily basis.
I see where you're coming from, but I think we're in the service industry, you know, and so when someone comes to sort of fix my fridge, I'm not like, here's my opinion, you have your opinion, and like, let's find the best way to fix this fridge together. They're just they've asked me to fix the fridge. This isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like you've flipped on yourself now.
I did flip on myself. No, I want to know about teaching. Kevin cut all that.
This is gonna be a big cleanup job back here. But it'll be good. It'll be good.
This is good. This is Kevin. We're talking about
I understand.
Production.
Yeah, great. I wouldn't know anything about that.
No,
this is still good.
This part is good, but the last part we just Kevin and I were.
Why? Because you proved yourself wrong about something. You're like,
no,
I want the world to know.
Full circle.
This is what I like to call a bit that I went too far down. Obviously, I push back on clients all the time.
That's great. No problem.
The person I was playing in that performance was a guy that doesn't that lets his clients walk all over him. That's not who we are here. How do you think we made all this great work? Obviously,
there you go.
Is by convincing clients to do what we want to do. And that's the real truth of it. So
great.
That's great.
I can't read you anymore. Like right now, you're saying the opposite of what you said before.
I know. That's because I was doing a bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were being facetious.
I was being facetious.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
okay.
Of course. I like to.
Okay, great.
I, as a former client, like to pretend like clients are always right.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the average designer out there is like, clients are so dumb, they're so stupid. But I do think they are generally more right than they're wrong, and I don't think you should ever be like, you know. I believe it's about people coming together, like you said, and it's about finding the right answers and work, collaboration, partnership, and finding and having a strong point of view, but also not being strong where you think that you know better than the person whose brand their company is, which I think is what designers get wrong.
The thing about clients being right is that they may be right. Clients are always right and you are always right. But what they're right about is different from what you're right about. They will not be right about what is the best color to represent.
Head exploded.
They aren't going to be right about what is the best color to represent this thing that communicates what I want to communicate, or the best color to create a good contrast, or the best typeface or whatever. But they will be right about, it's not communicating what I want it to communicate. Versus your job, which is like, if you want this thing, this is the right way to do it. This is the right strategic way to sell audiences, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And essentially we're helping people achieve their goals. And so our job is ultimately to help them understand that our pathway is going to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah. And then
better than the way that they think it.
Then you just take that and apply it to kids with teaching.
Wow. Kevin, thank you for bringing us back. So that's what you do with the kids.
So you asked about the difficult kids, and
I didn't ask about the difficult kids. I just want to ask about sort of the the jitters, like, or the feeling of like, I am someone that obviously has a lot of experience and a lot to teach kids, but these young kids, they're just very confident these days. They seem to think they know a lot.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I will say the more I teach, the more I can sense the difference in different generations, which is a little bit, it's an education. What were we talking about?
Any advice for me teaching for the first time?
I was going to ask you, do you have imposter syndrome?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, because you talked about jitters, I'm like, what's to jitter?
I just get nervous. That's not imposter syndrome.
Okay. Do you get nervous in front of a client presentation?
Yeah, 100% all the time.
No, really?
Yeah.
Are you doing a bit now?
No, I'm being dead serious. Yeah, clients intimidate me.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't see, the thing about being nervous is like, I care a lot and I want to impress. And that comes from my father. Let's
break this down.
Let's unpack.
And my childhood. And how much time do you got? No, I think someone told me this, right? I am I've done some speaking in my career. And every time before I get on stage, I am thinking, why the hell did I sign up for this? Like, why did I do this? And then I get on stage and I get comfortable and love every second of it and come off it and feel like the weight of the world has been lifted off my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that type of I always say it's like someone who's terrified of heights that got addicted to skydiving, because that joy of overcoming things is what brings me back. And I think the joy of sharing and presenting work to clients, there's always that fear that they're going to hate it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen a lot because we're so goddamn good. Just kidding. That's obviously a joke. Like, but I do care what they think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the designer experience, at least in my field of work. Like I like making people happy. And I think that's part of why I do what I do. And so of course I get nervous because I don't know if that's, they've hired us. They've given us money to do the work. They put a lot of trust in us. They could have gone to one of a billion design studios in Brooklyn. I always say we're not the only design studio in this building. We're also not the only design studio on this floor. There's, and that they're putting oftentimes their baby in our hands. So I care. And that's why I get nervous.
And that's why that's why you've made such a great studio. And it's why you're going to make such a good teacher, because you care.
Thank you, Talia.
But the difference between clients and students is that no matter what, students are always going to be looking up to you. Like it's like when you are under 18 and you're like looking up to your parents and you're like, you don't realize that your parents have flaws up until a certain age. 18, I just spit this.
Not my parents.
But everyone thinks that their parents are perfect up until a certain age. Whatever that age is changes, but there's sort of like that period. Students are in that phase no matter what. No matter how good they are, no matter how sophisticated they are, they're always going to be looking up to you. And that's how it is.
That was great advice. Thank you, Talia. Actually, I will think about that when I get in there. And I'm like, you know what? These kids are going to look up to me until they turn 35.
But the twist is many teachers realize that after a certain point and get comfortable, and you who cares you will at a certain point sort of like chill out a little bit more than your first few semesters. You'll just sort of go in unprepared and still impact these students' lives in a good way. But it will still be from a point of caring about them, caring about their futures, making sure that you're doing the best thing that you can as a teacher.
And I think that responsibility, I think, is also what gives me some fear. Is like I understand the power of being a great teacher and sort of helping other people. And it's like I want to do the best that I can and help them in the best that I can and have an impact.
You will. As long as you're not like set in your opinions as the end all and be all of graphic design, you'll be fine.
I think very clearly I have never been set in any opinion in my life.
Great.
Just including the one I just had, but earlier. No.
There you go.
Before we get you out of
and that's what makes us good designers.
No, exactly. Of course.
Bring it back around.
Yeah, we did it here.
We got there.
Anything that sort of big dreams, anything like where do you want to take this? Like 110 people, like what's dream projects, dream thing? Like what do you want to do?
I don't have dream projects or dream clients, but what I'm thinking a lot about now is I have my studio. It's going great. There are a lot of graphic design studios who grow and become big and whatever. And I think if running a studio is all I do by the time I'm 50, I don't think I will be happy. So I'm already kind of thinking about what are the other things outside of the studio life in graphic design and also outside of graphic design that I can do. I don't know what that is yet, but that's the big dream.
Sounds like you need a podcast. Thank you, Talia, for coming on the show.
Wow.
It's been an
Thanks,
honor
guys.
and a pleasure. Where can they find you?
Stuck the landing.
Thank you, Kevin.
Find me at Pastis. No.
Wow.
At the bar.
Find me at the bar. I don't get that drunk. I really don't. But that checks out, I guess.
Dirty martini.
Yes.
Like
Gin or
Carrie
vodka.
Bradshaw.
Gin or vodka. Do you drink?
Let's go. Thank you, everyone. 3, 2, 1.
Are we done? All right.
Oh my God.